I talk to you about collectivity outside your own shell. How after your realization, after your second birth, you become conscious that you are no more an egg, but now you have become part and parcel of the whole. You realize it gradually. In the beginning, only what you feel is nothing but cool breeze blowing into your hands, or maybe little tingling sometimes, or maybe some heaviness to begin with. But then gradually you realize it. Some people do realize it in a very quick way. But as the infrastructure within is not properly fixed, the realization comes very, very slowly. I spoke to you about our infrastructure within. Now the faith in God or faith in anything that is divine, also in the divine power, is not easy to achieve logically. Some people have faith in God because they have been taught from childhood that there is God. Maybe they think by relying on something like God somewhere in the air, they are doing better in life. There could be many reasons why people have faith in God. But actually, when you feel the presence of divine power within you and outside, it is hard to believe that it is the divine power. And even if you know all about it, it is difficult to assume it. It's sometimes a surprise to many Sahaja-yogis when they see around people who have got realization, who have got cool breeze flowing from their hand, and they disappear. They just can't understand such people. Now, how it has happened that these people have come to a program one day, they have got realization, they have got cool breeze, and then they have disappeared. Are they the people who are little believers or half-baked or mediocres? Or what is it? That they have no curiosity any further to go, or that they are not intelligent enough to understand that there's something very dynamic, something very new, very natural has happened to them. It is not a cult they can see for themselves, because as in a cult, there's a mass hysteria or some abnormalities. There's no abnormality. With these people, they are very normal. Despite all these things, all the proof to believe that there is divine power around us and that now it is flowing through you is there, but still people don't believe in it. Then why? What is the reason? We have to see what is the reason why we are not able to still accept that this is what it is. The time when great incarnations were on this earth, when people like Muhammad and people like Christ, Gautam Buddha, all these people came on this earth, very recently I should say, nobody believed that they are incarnations or they are Son of God. I mean, this is the only problem they had, to accept that he was Son of God. I mean, this was the only problem they were struggling, all of them, whether they were Jews or Muslims and such communities, they could not accept that he was the Son of God. I mean, what is the harm in accepting a situation, supposing he is the Son of God? After all, there's no property distribution going on. There's nothing like a will God has written that I'll give it to my son, that we should contest it. But people could not accept it. Now one may say that at that time that nobody felt the cool breeze. Nobody felt the connection with the whole. But today also the situation is the same. Situation is the same because of a simple reason that we ourselves are not integrated, we ourselves are not part of ourselves. Our mind is running one side, our body is running another side, our heart is running in another direction, our sense organs are running in a different direction, our liver is functioning in a different way. We are not at all integrated ourselves. And as long as this integration is not there, even if you feel the divine power, even if you see the working of the divine power, and mentally even if you accept that this is what is happening to us, it is there, and you see for yourself even the pulsation of the Kundalini, the rising of the Kundalini, the breaking of the Sahasrara, even then it is difficult to believe that Sahaja Yoga is the only way to have your rebirth. On this point some people will fizzle out. The others will fizzle out that why it's mother who has to do it. Then there could be other problems also with people, that why didn't happen to other people, they had to work very hard, and why didn't they get realization? How the mind works it is something very amazing. And as I know all the permutations and combinations of human negativity about his realization, I compassionately feel that it should be explained to them why they do it. I know it's very frustrating sometimes and people feel so disgusted. I've seen some Sahaja Yogis thinking that it's better to give up and cancel England out of the map of Sahaja Yoga or cancel France out of the map of Sahaja Yoga. But that's not the way. We have to understand that their own connections are not yet built in. For example, this machine on which I'm speaking now is connected to the mains, all right. But if it is not connected within itself, it will not work out. Both things are important. That it should be connected outside as well as connected within. And that connection within is very, very much lacking in the modern human beings. There are many reasons for that. First of all, a big movement started long time back among human beings to deny God, to keep it at the most as a formal, discrete stuff. It's just a formal thing. You see, you don't talk of religion at all. You go to church, come back home, or you go to a temple, come back home, sit down, you are a so-called Hindu or a Christian or a Muslim or something like that, but don't discuss it. Because as soon as you start freely discussing religion in the real way, I mean, it's easy to give a sermon sitting on a pulpit, but to allow it to be discussed and logically sorted out, it's impossible to prove because it is mysterious. It is a tremendous power that works it out. This tremendous power that works it out cannot be understood by normal human beings. Cannot be. The working of this is so dynamic, and the dimensions into which it works out is so great that a human mind cannot understand it, a normal. Even a Sahaja Yogi, when he gets realization, is trying to understand first the dynamism of this divine power. And the dynamism of this divine power looks so simple, but they can't believe it, that it could be that simple. For example, if I say sitting down here, you can find out about anyone the way his Kundalini is. I mean, this is something people can't just believe. It's too much for them to believe. So suddenly if you are exposed to something so dynamic, so great, so vast, so effective, so efficient, it is impossible for human mind to understand that there's such a great thing existed all through. Because they never discussed it. They never talked about it. You're not supposed to talk about it and discuss it. That's the main thing. You cannot discuss religion. And how far do we discuss even science? Like they'll say there is gravity in the Mother Earth. All right. What is the nature of gravity in the Mother Earth? How is it there? Why is it there? On that point finished. Science doesn't give that reason. They just say there is a pull of gravity in the Mother Earth. Finished. Beyond that, they do not want to discuss. They just say, all right, up to this point and beyond that, nothing. So if you go to a man who is a priest or a religious man or one who is talking about religion, will say, oh, that's God's mystery. That's God's mystery, we cannot go. That's a mystery. So one says that you cannot go beyond that, it is so, and that's why we should not worry about God. The another one says, all right, this is the mystery, and the mystery we cannot unravel. So I'm not a believer in a thing that exists, or I'm the believer of a thing that exists, but I cannot explain. If you discuss a small thing, how is it a particular flower becomes a fruit? That is not discussed, you see. In elite society, it is not to be discussed. At the most, you can talk about weather, because there cannot be any quarreling. Even a thing like Falkland Island should not be discussed. Maybe some Argentinian is sitting somewhere and he will be hurt about it, you see. Or something might happen. So we are so careful as to what to discuss. But if people sit down and discuss it, they will know that there is a tremendous working of the divine power around. Can you count the amount of work it is doing? It's an impossibility. Like a flower becoming a fruit. Now take only one type of a flower. How many there are in the whole world? I mean, if you think of it, you just feel that it's too much, we just cannot. How this Mother Earth is moving with a tremendous speed, and we are just settled down nicely here. How many such suns and stars and constellations are moving? There's no end to it. If you go to the microscopic side, just see the skin and you will be surprised that it is 1/16th of an inch has got such a beautiful organized layer which works out all the 5 functions of the skin. It is tremendous. And when seeing all these things, in going into science, if man doesn't want to realize that there must be a power that is doing all these organized things, and there must be one organized personality or maybe a controlling thing that is working it out, then it means that they are trying to live with a myth because they cannot solve it. The myth is that there is no God. This is the biggest myth I have ever heard. And to believe into such a thing that there is no God is just to accept that as you are the highest of all, the Lord of all the world, how can there be anybody higher? This is one of the biggest hurdles of human beings in the modern times. In the ancient times, olden times, it was so, but it was not so much to this extent that now man thinks that he is on top of the world and that he is the one who can guide the whole world and who can manage this and manage that. For example, I cured a patient about 10 days back. I shouldn't say I cured because it just happened that she got cured through surgery. And she went to the hospital and the doctor saw her. And they said, no, it can't be. How can you be cured? How can you say you are cured? She said, I'm cured. I have no pain, nothing. I'm perfectly all right. And everything is functioning all right. But how can it be? You see, not to accept anything comes from a fright that if you accept something, if you accept that there is divine power, then perhaps you may have no position, no significance. So to be compassionate to people who get realization, you have to tell them that it is not that you are overpowered by the ocean, but you become the ocean. The drop becomes the ocean, not that the ocean overpowers. Then it may be that you can go further with the second step, where ego is little bit given assurance that you won't be finished. The infrastructure has this one problem, that ego has separated all your inner being into different parts. And anything that ego says or is pampered is good. Good and ego's happiness are regarded as equal to each other. Now, if you can overcome that first hurdle with people, that you become the ocean, that you become the guru, that you become empowered with your own powers, you have crossed some areas in a personality. The problem is, first only you feel is tingling or maybe cool breeze. But this enlightenment of your sustenance happens later when you start enjoying your virtues, enjoying the virtues of others, enjoying the righteousness. And that is what is a difficult thing among human beings. And because of this delayed action, people don't accept Sahaja. Because they want everything in a very fast way. If they could feel the joy of enjoying the virtues and the righteousness just then they would not ask any questions. But in the structure of man, this comes later. When the Kundalini rises in the void, it goes through this centralmost channel called as Brahmanadi. Is the centralmost among the three nadis, which channel in the central channel. The central channel is Sushumna, and concentrically there are three channels placed, and the innermost is Brahmanadi. The other two are called as Chitra and Charini. Now the first one, it just goes like a single thread of hair and pierces through the fontanelle bone area. Now one may say that why not, you see, we can blame God for this. Now why not he had only one channel so that we could feel the impact of realization very fast. But one has to understand that whatever God does is for our well-being and for our hita and for our understanding. If you go the other way around, you see, that when we start hurting our central path of Sushumna, we start from outside. Like, you see, if you go to a wrong guru, to a cult, or to a wrong thing where you bend your head, or you have faith in something that is artificial, then the first channel is broken, is hurt. Now supposing if the whole of the Sushumna channel was made of only one tube-like channel, then the whole thing would have been finished. So the first one, the outermost, is first attacked by our stupidity that we do, is to bow to someone who is a fake person. Or we go to things, we believe in things, who is fake. It is also harm in the people who are very arrogant and think no end of themselves. And they think that we are the Lord of the whole world, that we can teach everyone and everybody has just to learn from us, that we are the best sect or the best organization or maybe the best religion or the chosen ones. Also there, first layer of the charini is hurt. So at the very gross level, it is first hit by these two types of people. Now the second one also can be hurt by people who practice all kinds of nonsensical things. You see, like I've met many Saj Yogis who have been to all kinds of nonsensical things and have practiced very perverted type of practices, very perverted. And all kinds of perverted ideas. Like, you see, they will go to a cult. I've seen some people who have been to a cult, for example. And there it is preached that you should not even look at your wife or some sort of a thing, nonsense. And they are having relations with other women. These kind of perversions when we have in life, or all kinds of perverted things we are doing these days in modern times, all sorts of perverted things, touches the second nadi, which is the chitra. I mean, I can't even, I don't know so many things what human beings do, to what extent. But these are the buffer nadis outside. And that's why there's we can say the very subtle one, which is called as the Brahma nadi, is used by Kundalini. But first, to begin with, when she rises, she tests it. She tests you and finds out what sort of an ascent she is going to have. So only a thread will rise first of all. Because supposing, if there is a hit on, say, 5-6 threads, they are hurt. And then they become very weak, you see, and they fall down. So a very subtle, one thread we can say out of that comes up to pierce the fontanelle bone area. Now this is the structure within us which does this. Is done the same way as a seed sprouts or any living thing happens, like a flower becomes a fruit. It's the same way. It's a living process. So when this one rises up and pierces the fontanelle bone area, that time when there's a little touch with the all-pervading power which is subtle, by our subtlety, you start feeling this cool breeze in that. But still there are 2 more nadis surrounding it, which have to expand and get more of the Kundalini coming up. So now we cannot blame God for this kind of doing, because He knows that human beings are like this. We try all the time to ruin ourselves morning till evening. In every way possible. Sometimes trying to please our ego, or sometimes trying to please our superego, all our conditionings. First of all, we never accept any knowledge from anyone, which is true knowledge, and in toto, and we always want to try ourselves. Now, anybody who talks to us with authority, with that purity, or with that holiness, we don't like such a person. We abhor. But anybody who plays upon our weaknesses, upon our ego and superego, who is really harming us, and we are not aware that we are harmed by these things. We are not aware at all. So this infrastructure that is within us, the more modern we become, the worse it becomes. And this infrastructure, if it gets spoiling more and more and more, then it is an impossible task to communicate with them or to inform them of the truth. Though they might feel cool breeze in the hand, they might get the experience and all that, but doesn't fit into their head. I have known people who have done that way, and sometimes it is amazing how thousands get realization and very few remain into that state where they want to gain the deeper significance of Sahaja Yoga. Unless and until they get to the deeper significance of Sahaja Yoga, they are not going to accept it. They are not going to recognize it. It's a sad thing, but it is so that one has to touch the being very deeply, because it's a beautiful being which is being ruined by various things as I have described to you. There's no end to it. Now, as the time has passed, of course, the communication of the divine has improved. Definitely it has improved. Because you have seen, we can give mass realization. People can get mass realization. You have seen in India, it can happen. So the communication from the divine power has improved. But the communication from the human power is reduced. Reduced and also is very much wounded. So if you see the Kundalini, I don't know if you can see the Kundalini of some people, or most of you will be amazed that it is really wounded Kundalini. She has hit many points which has hurt her. Because you didn't respect. You didn't respect her. You did not know how to respect her. Nor you could meet people who guided you properly how to respect that special thing that God has given you. The special blessing of this Kundalini which is within you. Is the premium. Is a very tender thing. Is so beautiful. It is eternal within you, which has to rise and give you realization. Now this is your mother, which is waiting for an opportunity to give you a realization. And this mother has no way to come up, because we have heard the path through which she has to come. And she is also jarred. I would say she is coiled like a tape within ourselves. This is the structure of this mother. She is coiled in 3.5 coils, and she has to rise. Now, think of a tape recorder which is put on a sea which is turbulent, and sharks are eating it off, and then it is burnt. All sorts of things that can be used to damage it have been done. Still, it is quite intact. Of course, there are little problems with it. It is still quite powerful. It is still expecting that great happening for which you are born, for which you are seeking, for which you are on this earth. She is there. You can't think of any human mechanism of that delicacy, that sensitivity, that beauty, that understanding, and that strength. And that is the thing still preserved there, because it is protected by your innocence, which is still there, a little bit left. You see, whatever you may try with your innocence, as you cannot create a complete vacuum, you cannot get rid of it, the whole. So whatever part is left of your innocence is guarding that. And that essence is still waiting, is there. Whatever you might have done, whatever wrongs you might have done, makes no difference, because Kundalini is intact. But what is the problem is the other way around, that the mechanism of God is perfect. The mechanism of divine power to give realization to thousands is absolutely in perfect state. Absolutely, I can tell you. But to make your brains understand the importance of yourself, of your being, of your purpose, of your meaning is difficult. Because it is not integrated. Your heart does not know your brain. Whatever happens to your heart is not communicated to your brain. If you reasonably see certain things and logically see something happening, still your heart may refuse if it's a weak heart, if it has weaknesses. But the Kundalini has the beauty to strengthen your heart, to strengthen your brain, to strengthen your liver, to strengthen all your being, and to integrate it. But she must be given a chance. If you don't give her a chance, you are not fair to yourself. People are fair to others, but when are they going to be fair to themselves? Ego is not the way we are going to be fair to ourselves, because ego is a nonsensical horse on which we are sitting. It's like John Gilpin's horse, you see. It takes you round and round the places, reaches you nowhere for your wedding day. Is that kind of a nonsense? So if you are playing with John Gilpin's horse, and if you are satisfied with it and we think it's a big fun, we are harming ourselves. So to get to the real point is that to understand what is our infrastructure. The outside one is all right. We import things in India. We can import anything from India, for India. But we cannot take it to the villages. We have no way today. There's no road. So that structure within us has to be built in with our own coordination and cooperation. We have to cooperate with it. As God has taken all the care to build in the structure without, outside you. And also inside you, He placed nice thing. And you were the trustee of that. You were in charge of that. But it is spoiled. So you must give time for this inner structure to come up. May God bless you.